Again. So we'll call this meeting to order 1:45 and walk through the formalities here real quick. This is an official hearing. We are attempting to abide by state law. So we will be recording this. We will swear you in if you're presenting testimony. Anybody who's presenting testimony today. Procedurally, the appellant will have approximately 10 minutes. And you will go first, then the assessor can return with questions, and then the assessor will have 10 minutes and you can return with questions. And then each party will have opportunity for a closing statement. Of course, the board may interject questions throughout that. Introduction of those in attendance. Madam Clerk, have you got all the names? You know everybody? Okay. I'm sure you got his name. All right. Okay. Make sure you had that. All right. If you plan on presenting testimony or speaking today in this hearing, would you please stand and you will be sworn in. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
Please be seated. And we will start the clock with the Beehner family. Go ahead, whoever's presenting.
Quick opening statement. We got 5 parcels here. We're allotted 10 minutes to speak. I do not believe this is going to fulfill our due process in this proceedings. Thank you.
Okay, well, let's see what we can do.
Okay, so 3 of our parcels that are our home parcel, the small little 100 by 75 parcel, and the shop lot, I'm trying to keep the home and the little 100 by 75 piece together, but some of the stuff will bleed into the shop lot too. And I will give you the papers for that. So if you're confused, just ask me. I'll refer to them as home, small lot, and shop is how we've always dealt with them. So anyway, I did a little comparison on our, like on the sheet with our main property, small lot, and then the shop lots on the back, to show the percentage of increases. We have appealed before in 2019 and was awarded a valuation, I guess, by the BTA at the state level. And we appealed again in 2020, even though the trend had to be held for that, and trying to get some corrections to our pro-val sheet made. And we won that appeal also. 2021, the county assessor had to hold just the trends on our property, but then in 2022 and this year, there's no more code for it or anything. It's just what the assessor assesses it as. And I think that in 3 years for our property, from when it was a BTA amount to now going up 125, almost 125%, is a little outrageous. I did come in and spoke to Connie and do you want to be Caitlin or Mrs. James? Okay, Caitlin, sorry, that's what I've known her as. So Caitlin, and I emailed down some photos that are in the packet. You'll get to them, but and she did make an adjustment on some of the interior of the house for its condition, I believe, is what was lowered. So on my spreadsheet, I had both the valuation that we were sent out, and then we got a corrected one sometime after the 26th when I talked to her and stuff. So anyway, that I have in the packet for you guys to look at is, you know, her email telling me that she had lowered it, and the paperwork that she went and had the pro-val numbers changed on. And that on the back of the sheet with the pro-val there in orange, it's got the dwelling that she moved it from the condition from average to fair. I still had some concerns and came in Friday and Monday to try to get myself familiarized enough with the pro-val. This has been a learning process for me. So, and then I had a couple questions at the end of Monday, but Mr. White said that Caitlin was finishing up her day. So some of these things I haven't had a chance to even speak to her about. So that could be addressed. Okay, so the biggest thing with us is I also included in a copy of copy of our 2020 appeal, because there were things in it where it stated, we brought mistakes and things to the attention. I don't know why. I have a feeling why. I know in 2018, Mrs. Holmquist was, I believe at that time, training Caitlin, because the two of them came to the property, and the time before that was Dina Fitzgerald training Connie, I believe, Holmquist. And so I don't think it's me personally. I think it might be somebody with me, but I contend that we're being, as the state said, a deliberate plan to misassess us compared to other properties in our area. And that's why I have the 2020 appeal in there, so that you could see some of the language on that. Because a lot of what I'm bringing up today is going to be the exact same reasons that we appealed in 2020, and they made adjustments. But then I feel that after the adjustments or corrections were made for some of our features, that it just rolls back to whatever was on the ProVal sheet, because I don't see any change in there. So that's the groundwork. Anyway, there's a whole bunch of pictures here that Caitlin did see that, and so she made the adjustments based off of our, pictures of inside our house, because it was built in 1990, and despite the kids thinking that I need to do improvements right away or remodel, we have not, because they'll just want to kill us sooner. So I did send the pictures to Caitlin of the cracking on the cement floor in the garage. There were the back page, there's two pictures by themselves. Caitlin did not see those. I took those afterwards, but there was no adjustment in the garage category. And I do feel that, like I said, I've got spots in there that I can like step in one area and it goes thunk a little. So I know that the cement is settling and it's broken enough that a piece is moving on it. So I don't feel, if I can get the right sheet here, that it is a average grade or condition, sorry. We have pavement. We have a lot of pavement. There are issues with the pavement. Caitlin did not see these. She only saw the cement and the house pictures when I sent them. So I went out and took some pictures of the pavement pertaining to the house property. And then later on, I'll have pictures of the pavement pertaining to the shop. But we have a corner that Matt's had to fill in with like cold patch stuff and that, because it was not a very good paving job. We've got areas that were low that we, again, had to put cold patch in to do. There are, on the pavement for number, let's see. I gotta get the newer sheet. That's too many sheets. Anyway, I'm pretty sure that the grade was average and average, but to me, an average paved job would be one that where you've had to do two seams together. It doesn't crack right away in that, because this was part of a remediation, and we're bound to keep that barrier there. And if it goes crappy, it's on our end to take care of it. So we've been, since the day it was laid, we've been battling with dealing with large cracks where like they laid everything they could one day and came back the next day or I don't know what that's called. Cold seams there. And then this is a picture that I think it was the first spring that we had the pavement, that it's graded so well that we have Lake Derbyshire in our front yard. So to me, that's not an average pavement job. But to me, it's a really pretty one, but I'm okay with fair, but it's not average. And then we go into the concrete slabs, or in the back, the patio. Oh, that one, we contested that it wasn't poured in, let's see. They had the concrete in like 2015. I gotta get a new profile sheet. I'm off an old one. 2015, and we had said that it was poured like in 91 or 92 is what I thought. Well, the state couldn't do anything about that because we didn't have any proof, but I'm a paper hoarder, and I went back and dug through our improvements file, and I do have the receipt when we got cement delivered in June of 92 for the patio. Then we go on to the retaining blocks, which were one of the big ones in 2018 when Caitlin and Connie came out. Matt had already established with the assessor's office that, we have no trespassing signs, and he didn't want them on there, but they knocked at the door, and I spoke to him and then told him no, that he didn't want them, on the property. So they went ahead and left, said that they did stuff from the roadway and then from our neighbor's backyard. So I got a copy of the, I don't know what to call it, worksheet when you're out in the field. Okay, I'm not sure what you call it. The worksheet that Connie had. And they did, at that time, I think is when they also added on the concrete patio, which again, they've been on our property. I mean, 1990, we built the house. So there's a lot of times between that and 2018, and that patio's been sitting there. So, they added that on, and then she brought in we have some retaining walls because our property sloped drastically, and we chose to put a retaining wall and try to fill in to keep our property out of the neighbor's property. So the assessor's office feels that is some great landscaping improvement on our property, as opposed to me, which feels it's again another kind of liability for me, because it's like if the blocks move or if they deteriorate, because that's what the picture is showing. It's not like this is a wall that will never have to have something done to it. They decided, well, on the field sheet, Connie had written 20%. And in the past, I've asked, and she said, well, that's because of the retaining wall, and it needs to increase because of your landscaping. Well, it in the field was 20%, and she had figured out what the blocks cost at that time when she called Zanetti's for them. And again, like I said, you look at them, they're not pretty decorative blocks. They're just holding back the dirt. She must have gone back, as best I can tell, tried to figure in a percentage increase that would get up to the just under 4,300 that she felt the blocks were worth. And in that, it ended up being profile sheet.
Sorry, that was just 10 minutes to see.
Okay, you've got 5 parcels. I only have 5. I can go 5 more minutes, but then we'll just have to do the best we can because I've got to give the assessor the same amount of time.
Okay, well, when I got the profile sheet for it, the landscaping had been 15% and she'd written 20 on it. It actually is 35% on the profile sheet now every year. And that I think is kind of ridiculous because, first of all, I don't know why, if you're gonna say the landscaping things or the blocks or some kind of landscaping thing or something, at the very least, they should go over on the improvement side where you can depreciate them, because those cement blocks are not gonna last forever. And we're gonna have the liability of fixing them, and 35% on top of our land for whatever, the land prices happen to do seems to me like we're paying for blocks over and over and over when I've got the same blocks. So to wrap it up, if you look through the rest of these, hopefully you'll be able to see where I've made notes that in 2020, we brought up on our property mistakes with how much our patio spacing was, which was 03 on our sheet, not being the right square footage, and the state fixed it. Also, they list our pole building as, I mean, I call it the gazebo, as an outdoor kitchen, which I don't know when you click in the Oregon, whatever machine that tells them they tell me they just click on buttons and then the program from the state spits out what our property is supposed to be, but I don't know what buttons are being clicked on, but a 30 by 30 outdoor kitchen is probably more than a covered seating area that happens to have a 9 by 3 or 9 foot 3 inch by 16, 11 inch kitchen in it. And so the state also in 2020 made an adjustment for that. And then, like I said, if you just go through it, it's amazing the number of people that ours gets listed that, you know, we refuse to let them on, and the narrative is a little snarky on it, but then everybody else is just, oh, no changes. And we move on from there. So,
which is one of the problems, that one of the houses, I believe, was used as the trend, was remodeled in what year? 2006.
yeah,
Also remodeled again in, I'm guessing, about 2016. When the appraisers came on the property, they asked the homeowners if there was any changes, any problems. They said no. And they had a remodeled house, which just sold, of course, for a heck of a lot more than what they had it appraised at, because they didn't go inside to see if it was remodeled, which there is pictures of the insides of the house. Now, we haven't remodeled our house except for the addition in 95, but our house is valued just about the same price as a house that's been totally remodeled,
if you look
Which
at
is
my
right
bathroom
next-
sinks, they don't look like this.
which is right next door to ours, which screws up if it is part of the trend, it screws up everybody. It screws the trend up for everybody because they didn't catch the remodel job.
Either of them, I don't think got counted for, because like I said, if you look at it, and that it's Tapman/Patrick is the house that, you know, again, it was listed for 475,000, but I can't see anywhere that, you know, you can actually confirm that's what it sold for. You know, I'm not the banker. But they did go in because they saw it up for sale last fall, and Caitlin has made some adjustments there, but it also made like their home value with what she put in for 2023, it went up 96.6%. That's a pretty big jump, which is going to make everybody else's jump. But looking at it, theirs from what I originally was, I was $10,000. Our property, because it's about the same acreage, their landscape is 5%. I have grass and a husband that hates trees, so there's one maple tree in our yard and some flower pots. This has all grass, a fenced garden, a cover or a deck that's not being taxed or not being assessed for, a covered patio that's not, or a slate patio that's not being assessed for, raised flower beds. You know, there's a lot of landscaping on there, except for it's all flat. They didn't have to put any retaining walls in. So that's my bulk on that one.
Let me ask the assessor if you have any questions for them based on what they shared. No. Okay. Board questions on what we shared, and you did a good job of squeezing that into 15. So, any questions from the board on what they had to share before we let the assessor go?
You have not left them on your property to do a physical assessment, or you have that?
Not, well, they were there in 13. And then they didn't do an interior. They were just on the outside with us. We were outside putting the gazebo stuff on. They never asked to go inside in 13 either. And then with the dealings with the assessor and his office, it was just like, yeah, I'm not.
But also, Tracy, to add into that, I think all the pro val sheets you've looked at, it's always talk to the homeowner. No changes, no problems. I can do that on the phone.
Okay. Any further questions?
No.
All right, we'll turn it over to the assessor.
So there were 7 home sales in 2022 in the Woodland Park area, 2 land sales. Home sales were at 60% of market value and land sales were at 50%. State law requires our assessed values to be at 90 to 110% of market value. To bring us into compliance, Woodland Park improvements were raised 30% and land was raised 40%. Mrs. Beehner came in with a few hours to spare on the deadline for me to make any changes. She sent me 7 emails containing 20 pictures, and I had 2 appointments earlier that day that I was trying to get done by the end of the day. The Beehner's house had an average condition rating. After considering Mrs. Beehner's photos, I changed the condition of the house to fair. This changed the value of their home by about $25,000. One of the complaints on the appeal form is the landscaping markup, and everybody who has a yard has a certain percentage markup. If you add a fence, there's a percentage that's added, landscaping's another percentage, so on and so forth. Speaking about the parcel with their house, the Beehners have several eco blocks around their property, a gate, some landscaping, and some fencing. The percentage applied to the Beehners land is on their main parcel is 35%. The parcel is valued with 2 other parcels, so this percentage is applied to the other parcels and then added together, and then a certain percentage is taken off, so it's everything's valued the same, and then certain percentage is taken off per how do you explain that? Valuing land together.
Oh, for size,
Yeah.
size, less per square foot.
Speaking of the 2 Brookside parcels, both parcels were disputed for the same concerns, and the following discounts were applied. There was 50% taken off for creek bottom, 25% for access, and 25% for location.
That would be 100%.
Well, how do you explain that? 50% for creek bottoms taken off, and then the remaining percent or remaining number is 25%
25 off
that.
the remaining number.
So my exhibits, exhibit A is the letter from the tax commission saying that we are out of compliance. Exhibit B is the 7 sales, that were used in Woodland Park. And exhibit C are 3 comparable sales. All of the price per square footage is more than what the subject property was.
And I think that's reflected from the comparables. Per square footage, so.
Happening, you have 2022 and 2023.
2022, yeah, that was the assessed value for 22.
This is for 22, and this is for
Correct.
this year.
Correct.
Yes, that is what the value went to.
3 current.
Okay, do you have anything further? Is Mrs. Beehner, questions for the assessor?
The first one is that, Caitlin stated that anybody with grass or fencing in that has a or everybody that has a landscaping factor on that. In one of my sample people for 95 euros, it's under Marilyn White. She has no landscaping factor at all. She has fence around part of her area that's counted as excess something because she doesn't mow it or water it. but she also has a fence around the back of her yard. She has some rocks that she uses for a retaining wall and a back patio that's not even on the assessment roll, in like her living spot. So she does not have a landscape factor. The property below there's the Clemens does not have one. It is a rickety shack and there's a mobile home, but they do have a grass area. They've got like 3 motor
So you're
motor homes
forming
on
this into a question for her though, right?
Yes, well, no, I guess I'm just saying is it's like, I don't think that's a true statement that everyone has a landscaping factor, because in the ones in my immediate neighborhood from me, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of my comparating properties just off of area that has fences and or some kind of a retaining wall, and that is what I was focused on getting. 6 of them don't. 2 of them have 5% factor. Their entire yards are fenced in. They're on flat. They don't have retaining blocks. They're fenced in, they're grassed, they've got gardens, they've got trees. So, I don't think that's a fair comparison.
Okay. Do you have any other questions about what she said that you'd like answered?
Of the 7 properties listed, not the comparables, you can deal with that. How many of these are actual, you know what they sold for? So they turned the paperwork into you? Because, well then,
Some have and some we get from other sources.
What other sources is that, Jerry?
Fee appraisers, MLS information,
Your appraisers?
no, fee appraisers.
the appraisers. Because the MLS is just like I said, I pulled up the MLS on the Tapman Patrick house, that is the big seller in the canyon now. And it's got it listed at 475, but that's what it says it was listed as, and then pending, but I have no idea. And do you know if they were paid 475? Because I looked through the binding books on Monday and there was nothing in there that, like when we bought the lots on Brookside, we filled out the piece of paper and sent it in to you.
Right.
There was no paperwork that I could see other than the online sale information.
And which one was that one?
Tom, she have it in for.
That one.
So you're saying it didn't sell?
No, it sold. It's a new person, but I don't have any idea. I couldn't find in the stuff I could get from the assessor's office. I know it was listed for 475. But I couldn't find in their, what I thought was the little black books that have the comparative sales the sales for the year. And some of them had pieces of paper where people reported it and some of them were not. And the way it was described to me is, the verification is there if there's verification. So I didn't see it. I may have missed it. That's why I'm asking.
It very well could have been re-verified and we get sales information from multiple listing service out in Coeur d'Alene. I think that's very reliable. We can be verifying.
Okay.
But you don't have that right now,
I don't have one.
that verification, or is it in your office somewhere?
It's not in the office anywhere. I told you, we get that from multiple listing service out of Coeur d'Alene, and it's very verifiable. And it's very reliable.
So currently what I'm asking is
No
you have no documentation of what that is. It's just on the phone or whoever you talk to.
No, we get multiple listing sales out of multiple listing service out of Coeur d'Alene, which every realtor does, every fee appraiser does.
But is there a document? Is what I'm asking.
I don't know what you mean by document.
Is there some proof of what that sold for besides you saying it sold for that?
We check the MLS, multiple listing service.
Okay. All right. Let me ask if there's any questions from the board before I let them have their, and then I'll give you a chance to summarize your thoughts.
No,
How much did you bring it down? Does that reflect in,
It was about 25,000.
and that doesn't include the, that's not, is that in the 441? Or is that 441 minus that?
Yeah, I think we're
I believe-
411 now.
I believe that was after.
Oh, that is after. We are currently with the interior that she adjusted at 441, whatever it says on there.
Oh, 38.
So that's current
Current, yeah,
with the adjustments.
yeah. Our house, because like I said, the only adjustment she made was to the interior of the dwelling. It dropped it from 430,000 some odd dollars to 405. The house that sold for 475,000, which doesn't make sense to me. If it's a market value, if it's 475,000, why are they only valued at 431? But although I don't have the other properties added in there, but if we compared house to house, my house is now 405,000. Theirs is 411, which seems a little out of swing to me.
Any further questions? Mr. Zimmerman?
No, on these residential, did you get any comparables or are you just going off tax fees?
None of these sold. I'm just comparing
Tax
assessment to assessment because this is where, like I said, I keep having problems because there's half a dozen things on mine that I'm like, this isn't correct.
Any further?
No.
Okay, let's give you a chance to summarize, respond, anything you've heard, anything else you want to add.
One of the things I'd like to say, if there's no documentation, it's hearsay. I knew this problem was gonna happen when they remodeled their house and then received the profile sheet that no changes, we don't go in. There's a real problem there because that's mostly what happens. They don't catch the changes, which screws it up when they do sell it. And they sell it for a price bigger than what the county has it appraised at because they've done remodeling on it. This house is probably, I'm hearsay again. I think their first remodel job was 50,000.
56 something, I think the building permits in there.
Then they did a second remodel. I think it was around 2016, did the kitchen and stuff. Doesn't look like they did a building permit. That was never caught. We have not, my cabinets are the same ones that were put in there in 1989. The carpet's the same that was put in there in 1989. The linoleum's the same linoleum that was in there in 1989.
89.90 because it was over
90.
the winter.
Yes, in that time frame. Ours hasn't nothing's happened except for we built the gazebo that I can tell you. And we're getting dinged because, my opinion, the assessors aren't doing their jobs when they go out there and go into the houses. I guarantee you, they come to my house, they're gonna go in. They're not gonna take my word for it that no changes. And I think this is wrong. The whole system is wrong on this, how it's being done here in the valley. It just get in there, do your 5% or whatever you got to every year to appraise 15%. Don't go in, just hurry up and get it done and get back to the office. That's my closing statement.
All right. Closing statement from the assessor.
We talk about innuendos, and how he says we do our job. I take offense to that. We do 20% of the county every year. What we do is a mass appraisal. What they would like to see us do is a fee appraisal. These guys go out and do 30 to 35 a day, where a fee appraiser does one. Fee appraiser gets in every house, every improvement, and they take a look at it. So, do we have everything right? No. Do we get into any homes? Very seldom. People don't want us in their home. They refuse that, and we have no right to get into it otherwise. So we make an assumption, And I think the difference in value is opinion. So Caitlin did what, when she got the opinion, value, more information, that changed her opinion. She changed it. So that's what they do day in and day out. There's 16,500 parcels in Shoshone County, and we have what, 27 appeals? We must be doing something right.
Would you guys, would you let them go come look at the house? Would you be interested? Would you?
I would-
look at it and see if?
I would
if
sit
you could-
down and talk with Caitlin, cause, and I don't, again, not to split hairs, but I was in on the, like, the Friday before or whatever. I was trying, when I sent you the emails, I don't think it was the deadline day, cause was it the deadline day on Monday? Okay, cause I didn't think that it was, so I was like, but no, I would, at this point, I would sit down and meet with her and see what we could, talk about or look at the pictures, because again, she made adjustments inside the house, but she didn't take anything to infect on the patio that I sent the pictures of, or the garage, I'm sorry. And didn't even say, nope, sorry, I think that's okay. It was just like, it wasn't addressed. And, currently, I don't trust Mr. White any further than I could throw him. And so, no, I wouldn't have him come into the house or have Caitlin at the moment, because if she'd been trained by other people, I might.
Okay. All
'Cause I
right.
want it clear, it's absolutely nothing against Caitlin. This is the department head. So,
Any further questions, Commissioner?
No.
Any further questions?
No.
All right. We've got to move forward. Gonna close this portion of the hearing, and now it's time for us to discuss between the board what action we want to take. For
are
clarity,
you closing all 5 parcels?
I'm sorry.
Are you closing all 5 parcels or the 2 that we discussed?
Well, we're discussing, we're looking at your whole packet. Yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah. What are you thinking?
So we didn't even look at the other parcels either. Is that what you're saying?
No, I didn't bring up anything on the shop parcels or the Brookside development too.
So this 400,000 is just the home and not the shop.
Mhm.
What's the total?
I don't have that off the top of my head. Sorry.
So the
Um,
county, and this is the part that the county has appraised for 440.
The house and that small little lot, the main property and the small lot.
Right. And what are you proposing the value was?
My
Honestly,
proposal
I
is,
can't remember what I wrote
just
down.
going off of what the neighbor put into their house on a remodel, the difference. We haven't remodeled.
Right.
Their house is you're gonna get that money back on the remodel.
So what would you propose your value would be? Is that minus the remodel?
That'd be the fairer, in my opinion, because they use it as a trend.
And how much did they spend in their remodel?
50,000, I believe, is what they,
56
is
something,
what the building permit did.
that was also in 2006.
And then also they did another one, the kitchen.
And I'd like to see where that's some type of grateful technique anywhere in the country.
Okay,
Well, what I'm looking at is what's your taxes? That's because we just went through the house and that's
Total
the
valuation.
total valuation of everything. And I didn't catch that.
Well, the house,
House was 400 and
441.
Yeah.
Small lot, I don't know. So 1 second, I'll let you know if it's in here.
the house is 466.
I'm missing a piece of paper.
The
I know
small lot, or there's a lot for 3962.
Yeah, a little lot. And then the shop lot is 99,164.
And then there's another one there for 3584.
That's the Brookside development, part of the LLC. Not us personally. That's
Sorry. I don't see the shop.
It should be under like 93 Tomshe or Tomshe Avenue.
That's what I got from you guys. Or we got from the
Okay,
commissioners,
so
and
this
that's the house.
is the house. This is the little lot. This is the little lot. This is the little lot. Well, I'm not sure where I sent all 5 of them in. So I'm not sure where, because that is only 4.
Yeah, because I didn't think those were they're not that much.
1,900,
Yeah, that's just 4 of them. The shop lot is
You
not.
have the shop on it?
3,000. I'm trying to figure out if I do, but
It'd be after the end. See, I don't have it either. It's,
no, it's not in the packet.
not in the packets. 466 is one. I got the 3962, 3584, and the 1930.
Where's the building residential? It's 84,000.
Oh, before the land, yeah, total is like 99 something.
That's not the shop.
Yep, that's the shop.
That's the shop. So it's in the middle of the packet.
I don't think that Jeff has that. I only see 5 or 4 pieces of paper for it.
Okay, well,
And they say that they had on that one.
This is assessment made, so the corrected one.
So that one's pretty close.
Actually, it probably isn't. I think it's. Because it didn't, the only thing that the corrected one for the shop changed was the homeowner's exemption on it first, and I was just looking at the land and the actual assessed value, so
So
I'm
you're-
not sure if I, with all of my copying, I'm not sure if I included the corrected one, because when Caitlin dropped the inside of the house on the house lot, they had to refigure the homeowner's exemption because it's split between the properties.
Mhm.
And so they sent us out 2 new ones, that I think I got on Monday, so,
Okay.
and I'm not sure, I thought I made a copy when I sent.
So the biggest problem you see is the house. The rest of them are.
Oh, no, the shop is when you
within.
compare to the other 2 shops that are similar in there, it's way out of whack too.
Okay,
the
they're
other 2 shops that sold.
No, that are on property around there, so
and
Okay.
there hasn't been any shops.
How they're valued.
Yeah, how they're valued.
so you wouldn't have them come out and look at it. What about with the commissioner with them?
No,
No.
I mean,
Because that's one of the things how they can value, because they have went out and reduced values on houses that are on, we've already seen that today.
everybody else is, no changes and there's no questions asked. I'll answer any question.
Yeah, and like I said, at this point, just because it's been like 19, 20, I've come in, and 21, trying to get like just the information on the, well, first of all, just to learn about the Proval, and that was pulling teeth, from Mr. White, and then having to go through Keisha to have it done and stuff. So I have luckily gone in and Katie, I'm not sure what her last name is. I think, is it Murray? She was in there. She's been very helpful. Connie was very helpful. Caitlin has always answered my questions and been helpful. So I've been educating myself a little on this. But when you start out with whatever they punch into the magic machine and stuff, when those numbers aren't right, like as simple as measurements and stuff, when they were on the property, I mean, they've been on the property when the house was built and stuff. So measurements were taken, things were done. So at this point, it's like, no, I've said year after year after year that, our patio was not poured in 2015. It was poured in 1990-ish to 92-ish and stuff. And it's like, now I was able to find the cement thing for it, and Matt poured it. So I don't consider it a good grade. I mean, Matt's okay with cement, but he's not, he's not a concrete guy and stuff. It's our own pour and things. So yeah, it just, at this point, I mean, I would be willing, I know Matt won't, but to sit down and just have a conversation with the appraiser, whomever that's gonna be and stuff, to try to get it straightened out. And then maybe I would consider something down the road, but right now it's like beating your head against the wall and you're fighting an uphill battle because
Let me ask the assessor a question. Do you see any way forward in having an appraiser sit down with the potential of this eventually turning into an on-site visit between now and Monday afternoon?
I'm not sure of time frame.
Okay. But you would be willing to put together an inspection before Monday afternoon if they agreed to let you come visit the home?
On site. Gonna be close. Caitlin's in here, was joining you time tomorrow. And Dr. Quinn, Monday, I don't know what her schedule is Monday.
Okay,
think I'm here.
so that doesn't sound like that's an option anyway.
And
All right, we do need to move forward for the sake of the next folks in line. Does anybody have any idea, suggestion? There's a great deal of mistrust going on here. I don't know what to do about that. We've seen some comparables on the one side. We've heard their thinking on the other.
one of the problems is, I've said this before, is Idaho code sets us to look at comparables and things like that, and we're supposed to take all the evidence and we're supposed to decide on that. And I know you use tax assessments on the other properties, but I don't know how that would play into an actual market comparable.
Mhm.
And so I'm kind of hesitant on that.
Were you asking me a question or because you said you didn't know how it would play?
Well, I didn't know how
Okay.
that, how that plays into, a regular comparable of when the properties are sold. That's where we get our comparables, not tax assessments.
Right.
And so, and really the code doesn't tell me I can veer off of that
Mhm.
and take the other as evidence. So we really need market comparables.
Well, I see your point.
I just want my profile sheet to be right. Then I'd have something to compare it to.
I know. I'm not sure how to get further though with the lack of trust and the lack of ability to do any further on-site other than agreeing to sit down, but that's going to be after the fact and that won't help your assessment for this year. So I think we're kind of at the lack of trust is creating a bit of a dead end here between now and the deadline. And I don't know what to do about that. The appeal you made to the state, what was the last time you did that? The 20th, 2020?
2020.
2020. Okay. Does anybody have a motion or an idea?
I would motion to accept the values as the 405 for the readjusted to the fair.
The adjusted price?
I would due to the conflict, I would guess they would have to appeal to the state for fair. If you think you need fair evaluation.
Yeah, I'm not sure how to get that for you here otherwise. So you would motion we accept the assessor's amended value.
Yes.
And do you have that down, Sydney?
Yeah.
The amended value? How do you feel?
That's on one parcel.
I think we're kind of a rock and a hard spot because we don't have comparables for the market comparables. So, and that's what we really need to make the decision. So I think, I would agree with it.
One
And then-
second.
Yep.
So you'll second. Okay, last discussion between us. Okay,
And if there's any way we can get somebody out there before Monday, let me know. I'll go with you out there if you
well,
guys
the
think
Beaners need to agree to that.
If you
so.
agree to that.
We
Let me
said
know.
we would do a sit down first. We're not going straight to it on the
Okay.
property, so.
Okay. Does your offer extend to a sit down?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
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 Okay, so we're gonna go with the amended amount and the offer of doing a sit down to try to address some of these fairness issues. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
Well, there's no hearing on the